In this lesson, we'll move up and begin to work on the headlight area. So this is the area that we're going to be working on. And let's say that we want kind of a large, completely circular headlight area right here, and then another smaller one up here. Well, this topology doesn't really lend itself to that, although we could come in here and try to draw these points to form a circle. It'd be much easier to bring in something that's already that shape and then connect it up. So let's go ahead and you can bring in a pipe or just a cylinder. And we'll go ahead and bring that up, scale it up. Go ahead and bring it over here and rotate it so that it is pretty well facing straight on. Let's dial down our subdivisions to something a little bit more manageable, maybe something like 12. And let's scale this down kind of to the size of we want that initial headlight to be. Something kind of like that. You can scale that thickness down and just bring it forward. Alright. And so we're not going to be using this particular topology, but let's go ahead and select it, and then we can duplicate it in case we need it a little bit later on. So I'll go ahead and select it all. Okay. Go ahead and deselect everything that we may have selected that we don't need. And we'll go ahead and first, let's go ahead and duplicate this. So let's go ahead and just duplicate face. So then we can kind of pull that forward. And let's just hide that, save it for later. Okay, so now let's go ahead and again select these faces. You can see that I've got n-gons in there. I've got things that aren't connected up, and that's okay. We don't need to go ahead and fix that at this point. Okay, so once I've got that selected, okay, make sure I don't have anything else. Let's go ahead and just extrude that in. And I'm going to go to world mode here. And we'll just extrude that in. You can see how that adds that geometry where those points were intersecting there. Alright. Go ahead and scale this down quite a ways. And you can just sort of pull it out. Let's move it over a bit. Okay. And let's go ahead and just delete that geometry. Now let's move this piece kind of more into position where we want that headlight geometry to be. So I know we want to turn it just a little bit. Okay, and we want to maybe scale it back a bit. We don't need all of that thickness. And we'll just pull it back. We still want it to be inside here. Let's go ahead and select the border edge right here. Sorry, we gotta get rid of that, the back faces there. Go ahead and delete those. Okay, we'll just get rid of those faces. So we don't need those. We're going to combine this with the geometry here from the actual car itself there. So now we'll select the border edge, scale that up. Okay, and then we want to start to connect some of these pieces of geometry up. Okay, so this is our good piece of geometry. So this is one we don't want to touch. So what we want to do is start taking these points, and we'll go to translate, hold down V, and we'll start snapping them here to various points that we have that we know are good. So we'll keep this circular shape here. So I'll go ahead and snap that to there. And you can play around with the resolution that we have. If you find that you have several pieces together, several lines together, you can consolidate those. Okay. So for instance, we can take these three, can take this one, all three of these, and snap them to that one point, and then just delete that edge. Or you can leave the triangle. That might work too. And go ahead and just continue to kind of pull these in all the way around. I'm going to connect this one up to here. And grab this guy all the way down here. Connect him up there. Okay. Might become a little bit twisted, but that's okay. Go ahead and connect that up. And just kind of zip your way around here, connecting these different pieces up here. Okay, and now we have just one point left, but we have a bunch of these different pieces. So what we can do is then add our second piece up here. So let's go ahead and I'm just going to kind of cut this out. Just kind of cut across here so that we've got some room. Cut across all of these with the split polygon tool. And down to here. Get rid of those faces. Okay. And now let's duplicate this piece that we've already created. Scale it down a bit. And it's going to be recessed slightly from this guy. Okay, so now we can use all of that extra resolution to sort of connect up to some of these pieces right here. Alright. And if you want to make this a little bit lower res, you can do that too. For instance, now we have, I think, 12. If you want to take basically every other line here and delete it, has the effect of lowering that resolution, but you'll still get a nice smooth line there. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 instead of 12. So you can see that still smooths down. But now we have less geometry that we have to worry about. Can smooth that out. Okay. We can bridge the gap between these by combining them. Okay, so we'll go ahead and go to Mesh, Combine, and let's do a bridge just between these faces. Let's go ahead and do a simple bridge with a linear path, no divisions. Just bridge that together. Okay. And now we can use the rest of this to connect up here if we want to. So I can take this point and bring it down here. This one, bring it over here. And we'll probably want to add some resolution in here to be able to space this out. Go ahead and snap that right to there. Snap that in there. And that right there. And let's go ahead and snap this one to one of these other pieces. You could also bring in another loop in there if you wanted to. Take these faces, or rather just your split polygon tool. Go ahead and add that in there. Now this is going to affect it when it smooths. So you can see when we smooth that, it's going to affect that a little bit. So you might want to move your geometry slightly, but it's not going to matter that much for our purposes. And go ahead and connect that up. And where we've moved this can connect this up to the corner there. And it needs a little bit of cleaning up for sure, but that's sort of the idea, because we've got this geometry that we didn't really, it was kind of just kind of drawn haphazardly in a way. Definitely needed some cleanup, but we knew we wanted to get a cylindrical shape, so it was kind of helped us to be able to use that cylindrical shape that already exists to be able to build that. All right. And so now we've got the points matched up. To combine these, we'll simply go to Mesh, Combine, and then go through, select only those two vertices, and start to merge those vertices all the way around. Okay, and that's how you're going to actually combine this together. Let's go around and combine that. Oh, you can see we've got something selected we don't want. So just be careful about selecting your points, or you'll end up with something that is merged that you didn't really plan on being merged. And then it's kind of a hassle to split that apart and get it back where it goes, because most likely it'll snap to different areas. You can go up here and select those points and merge those together all the way around, all the way around there. Okay, and now if you need to, you can come in and add extra geometry in here to be able to manipulate. So now you can kind of move some of these points around, space things out a little bit more. All right, same thing up here. Okay, so we delete our history, and then if we smooth that, you can see how we're starting to get that in there, although we still have to add the sort of the detail for the bezel and the actual part of the headlight. To do that, we can just simply select the face, and I'll just do it on this large one. Go ahead and select those pieces. Go ahead and extrude. Scale that in. Do another extrude. Scale it back just slightly. Another extrude. Scale that back. And back again. And let's go ahead and keep this geometry. We can use this for not only our headlight itself, but for the cover of the headlight. So let's go ahead and duplicate those faces. Okay, and just bring those forward. And then we can take, we can create the sort of the bezel up here. We can come in here and do an edge right there, and then offset that edge loop, much the same way we did on that front piece. Go ahead and scale that in, and then bring some geometry right up close to there, and it gives you a nice little piece going around there. You can do the same thing on this little guy. Okay, so but it's also good to remember, if you're going to be using some geometry that needs to match up with this later on, it's good to go ahead and duplicate that beforehand. All right, so in the next lesson, let's go ahead and start to build some of the headlight details. We're going to try to put some interesting details in here, including the headlight itself. So just finish out this area, and then we'll work on adding some little detail in there. So we'll go ahead and do that next.